masegera akero wedile nanayo diro wakune morehe Mundo tuere yuko nyongo lyoto adire kwingia akamata na rogoro na gaikuru kenderero iratero netuero hatare mundo gemoria kioria. Most welcome back to each one Teach One Kings and Queens. My name is Regina, the blessed, the favored, and the unstoppable. And it's my hope that your week is going on good. Mine is, and I bless God for this far. Now, missing Egypt. That's my discussion for today. Missing Egypt. And for all those who are believers and followers of Christ, in short, those who are Christians, they all know the story of Israelites when they were slaves in Egypt, kings and queens. Now, I'm reading the book of Exodus, and I can tell you that it's amazing and it's really interesting that whenever you read the Bible, no matter how many times you read it, there is always something you find out that you didn't know earlier, you didn't know before. So I have not actually completed it, but the fact that I have actually read what I have learned so far, that's what I want to share. That's where I've based my discussion today on kings and queens. Now, when the Israelites were still slaves in Egypt, they were faced a point in their lives came. It was actually very many years that they became slaves there. They had been slaves for a very, very long period of time, kings and queens, as we all know. Now, at some point, a point came in their lives that they felt this is too much. The pain, the hardships, the challenges were too much, kings and queens, that they could not hold. They could not actually, they could not actually stand it anymore. And the only person that they could turn to was this God, their God. That's why we call him the God of Israel. They cried unto him and they told me, please, we cannot do this, is too much, don't kill us here, please, we need to go out, to move out of this land. They were actually running out of patience. And God, being so gracious, he actually listened to their cry and sent this one man called Moses, to actually save them and move them out of Egypt. And he made a promise to them that he's actually going to take them to the promised land. Now they were all excited to know that, to realize that God had finally answered their prayers, kings and queens. And you know all the story of how God hardened Pharaoh's heart, and at the same time gave Moses power to perform miracles before Pharaoh, until he convinced him enough to let go of the Israelites. Now you can imagine, God had actually hardened this king. He was stubborn. He made him stubborn in his heart that he could not let go of the Israelites. But because of God's power and might, finally he was able to let go of the Israelites. Now, along the way, as they moved towards the promised land, I think Pharaoh changed his mind, and he thought to himself, however, after all these years of these guys being my slaves, how can I just let them go easily for 2 years? So he started changing his mind, and he felt like he had done them a very big favor, and now he had to go back to them and bring them back, because who would be farming for them, who would be cleaning, who would be doing actually all those kind of works that the Israelites were doing when they were still slaves. Those were the questions that were actually running through Pharaoh's mind when he was changing his mind about his decision to let go of the Israelites. So he and his army, they took the chariots, and they actually followed the Israelites to bring them back by force, now back to slavery. Now, by the time they caught up with them, they were almost near the Israelites. The Israelites had actually reached the Red Sea, kings and queens. So they were looking. This is the Red Sea, and behind them is actually the Pharaoh and all his army following up with them, and they wanted to actually bring them back to Egypt, where they used to be slaves. And the Israelites were like, they started panicking, and they asked Moses, okay, why did you bring us out of Egypt? It's just to bring us here and leave us here to die. Why? It's better you just left us there. It was much better in Egypt. That's when God spoke to Moses and ordered him, actually showed him what to do, and he made a way for the Israelites. We all know the story. Now, as I am reading this book, I've realized one thing, that on countless occasions, the Israelites actually had a problem when it comes to challenges. Whenever they were going through challenges, the very first thing they would do is actually miss the Egypt that they used to live in. Remember, they were slaves there. Remember how all the pain and the challenges that they actually faced in Egypt, that they even started begging God and praying to God, please take us out of Egypt. Now, finally, after they had actually been saved, and now they were in the wilderness. They started facing challenges along the way, all along the way to the promised land. And they had one weakness of complaining to God day in, day out, whenever they faced a challenge, kings and queens, that they could not stand facing challenges. Challenges actually made them want to give up and forget all the wonderful things that God had actually made and done for them. Now that I have realized that even as I continue reading this book of Exodus, Kings and Queens, that you and I, plus the Israelites, have one thing in common. That at some point in our lives, no matter what God has done in our lives in the past, or even is still doing in our present, whenever we actually moving towards God's great destiny for us, and we face a challenge, the first thing that we start thinking of is where we used to be, our comfort zone. Our Egypt right now is actually our comfort zone, our past, where we used to live, what we used to do. And we start comparing now the current situation and our past life, and we start feeling like strongly believing that it's better our past, because we never used to go through all this. And I'm reading this book and realizing that, if some comments the Israelites were actually making, that even in Egypt we used to have meat, there was water, there was this and this, all those things that we do before God, and we start, and you don't really have to tell God verbally that you're missing your Egypt, that you're missing your past life. You don't really have to, kings and queens. There are actions, there are some kind of behaviors that we actually develop and start showing God that it's better our past. Why did you bring us here? This is too much. But still, some of us go ahead and start verbalizing it and saying it verbally, and telling it even to those around us that it's better who I was before, it's better the kind of life that I was actually living. And we tend to forget so quickly and so easily, being the human beings that we are, kings and queens. Instead of appreciating God for what He has done, we start complaining and we start telling Him, just because there is one mountain standing in front of us, one challenge facing us and daring us, hey, kuja sasa, kuja, unajionanga wewe ndio mnoma sana. These challenges that are standing in front of us, and we feel like they are daring us, telling us, hey, now you claim that God is going to save, now save yourself. You can imagine the situation the Israelites were in when they were just next on the riverbanks, actually on the shore of the Red Sea. And God actually did an amazing thing that has never been done before. He made a way in a sea. I want you to realize this message is for people that actually God has done amazing things for them. I'm talking to the people who have been jobless for years, praying and fasting about to God, that please God, I cannot hold it. I cannot stand this anymore. Please just give me a job. This is too much. I need to feed my family. I need to do this. I need to do this. Then after God actually does a miracle for them and they get this wonderful job, they start, for example, getting busy. And now they don't have even enough time with their family. And now they start wishing that they start wishing for the kind of life that they were actually living in. I'm talking to people that have been praying to get children. Then after some time, after they got the children, and now the children are, having children actually comes with a lot of responsibilities. Now you start wishing that, oh God, this is too much. You don't really have to tell God that you miss not having a baby. It's just an example. But the complaining, day in, day out, complaining that God, this is too much. I'm speaking to people that have been praying to get partners, spouses, husbands, wives, and along the way, in this now marriage, in this kind of family life, challenges start kicking in, and the first thing you start thinking of is your Egypt. And even some of us start verbalizing it, saying it openly, even to those friends of ours who are, who are single and they are not married. You know what, so and so, it's better you just stay venye uko. Yani wewe hata usijaribu kufikiria about marriage. That's a way of telling God that you miss your Egypt, you miss the single life, you miss being alone. You don't want to be bothered. You don't want to face challenges. These are the people. These are just a few examples. I'm speaking also to people who have been into prostitution, for example. You are used to easy money. Easy money. You just, after 5 seconds, after 1 minute, 5 minutes, you get the cash that you are looking for, and now you can pay for your sons and your daughters' school fees. But after God has saved you, and now you are now a child of God, you start realizing that the easy money now, you have to sweat for that money, and there's no other way out, kings and queens. Because as long as God has chosen you, as long as God has saved you, you have got to live the life that God expects you to live. Your past is your past now. So these kind of people, they start, whenever there are challenges, they start missing now their Egypt, the old them, the past life that they had, because now that was easy money. Now I have to sweat for my money. I have, it's too much now. And even after sweating for this money, it's still not enough, kings and queens. That is our Egypt. If you're out there and you're missing your Egypt, that is your past life. Remember that Egypt is nothing else but a comfort zone. And as long as you're in your comfort zone, kings and queens, you will never grow. So I'm begging you and I'm encouraging you, stop asking God to take you back to your Egypt, to your comfort zone. Because in your comfort zone, in your Egypt, there are things that you never realize about yourself. There are things that you also never realize about your God. Imagine if the Israelites would not have moved from Egypt. Would they have ever realized that God is a provider? No. Would they have ever realized that God is a way maker? They would not have actually found out or realized who God really is. So apart from them learning about God, they also found themselves realizing who they are, that they are chosen generation, kings and queens. Stop asking God to take you back to your Egypt, kings and queens. Egypt has nothing good to offer you, kings and queens. For you and for the sake of you and your generation, it's better you just proceed on and keep on moving on towards your promised land. And in this case, your promised land, kings and queens, is actually God's great destiny for you. Stop missing your Egypt, because in Egypt, there are things that you could not have discovered about yourself, about your God. There are things that you could not have actually done. You didn't have the freedom to do what you're doing right now, kings and queens. So I'm encouraging you and I to take this message seriously, kings and queens, and to realize that begging God, telling God that you're actually missing Egypt, you don't have to tell Him verbally. By complaining about your situation, the challenges that you're facing now in your new life that God has actually placed you in, that's one way of telling God that, hey, you know what, I appreciate what you did, but please just take me back where I used to be. I cannot stand this anymore. Remember when I shared with you the topic, the discussion on territory, and I told you for you to actually get hold of that territory that God has promised you, it's a fight. For the Israelites to actually reach the promised land, it had to be a fight. That's why if you go through the book, especially in the Old Testament, you realize that they actually had to fight a lot of nations after nations. And when it comes to this kind of fight, it's only for the strong, the brave, the confident, not for people who are always fearing, not for cowards, not for people that actually give up so easily. So I'm talking in this generation, this society today, I'm giving examples of things, stuff like, marriages, I'm talking about the example that I gave you of people changing, getting born again, changing from prostitution to a better person now. And now you start realizing that now I've got to work hard and to sweat for my money. These are the kind of people that I'm talking to. Now I'm encouraging you to go out there, kings and queens, to fight for your territory to the end and to realize that it's time for us to stop missing Egypt, because God has a reason why He took us out of Egypt, kings and queens. And in this case, your Egypt is actually your past. Now, I'm hoping that you're going to have a lovely time wherever you are. Remember that God loves us. He will never ever leave us. He will never forsake you or I. And once you strongly know it in your mind and strongly believe it in your heart, kings and queens, please keep running after God's great destiny for you.